Hello, 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 and welcome to the $1 Million Electrician Podcast, where we help home service pros like you supercharge your business and spark up those sales.
I'm Joseph Lucani, and together with my co-host, Clay Newmeyer, we're here to share the secrets that have helped electricians sell over $1 million from a single service van.
Now, it's time for sales. It's time for scale. It's time to become $1 million electrician. Hello, you guys, and welcome back to yet another episode of the $1 Million Electrician Podcast, where we're taking this crazy approach, sales to scale. But today, actually, we're going to focus on service and creating this three-dimensional service environment that your customers can experience, because experience is so important, Joe. I would hate for people to miss this. You use this term actually often when you describe how to serve people. How important is that client experience in your words, brother?
You know, I don't necessarily know the exact thing you're referencing, but I'm happy to speak to anything in particular.
Yeah,
Would
just
you mind?
choose some words and tell me why it's important to set up a great client experience.
Well, the ultimate goal is that your client knows that you need to be different. You have to separate yourself, because if you don't, there's no reason why they should come back. You want to make sure you do something that makes you stand out to such an extent that if you don't, you're not memorable. So why not be in the customer's heart as well as their mind?
That's really powerful. If you've recently been compared by price, if your customer said to you, well, this is all well and good, but others came in at a lower price point, would you say that
Now I
they're
know what it
comparing you
is.
based on experience or a price point, Joe?
I know the exact thing you're talking about now, and that is if you're what is it? I'm sorry, I'm super off today,
That's all
Clay.
right.
Ugh. I'm willing to match their price when they're willing to match my service. No one's matched it yet, so I would like to proceed.
Right. Yeah, that's a really important takeaway. So, guys, we're going to dive into this on this episode, and I really want to unpack some very important truths for you in your service and your experience. And we're going to start at the bottom. And the first truth that I want to unpack is actually a little bit selfish, if that's okay.
By all means.
I just want to, hard on our sleeves here, share with you guys how much it means that you listen to our podcast. And recently, we just had a new client sign up, Ben, who I know is going to receive a ton of help and a ton of growth in his business. And the reason that he was able to find out about Service Loop Electrical and about the $1 Million Electrician podcast was actually on a job doing a meter swap where a utility tech asked him constructively about his pricing and how his business was going. And he said, you got to listen to these guys on the $1 Million Electrician podcast. So first and foremost, thank you. If you're someone that talks about us, if you're someone that receives value and shares that value with others, and if you're someone that would refer this podcast to someone else, thank you, thank you, thank you.
You know, if I could just touch on that for a moment, it feels that particular testimony hit me so hard because often we don't get to see the ripples of our effects. You know, you can see the one-to-ones, you can see the people in your immediate circle, but you don't often know those who heard it, who told someone else, who told someone else. And the fact that a utility worker wanted to help the electrician is already great. He could have just kept it to himself, but he wanted to help. And then that he had a resource that he could apply to say, if you're an electrician who wants to learn how to do your job better at a higher level, there's a resource you can go to apply that skill. I feel like it's an absolutely amazing thing. It really touched my heart hearing it.
Yeah, that's a great share. And I just want to add the final layer on that is simply that, you know what, guys, a staggering number of our listeners don't subscribe to us. But if you have listened to several of our episodes, if you're getting value from this, please hit the subscribe button on your favorite podcast channel or on YouTube, where so many are choosing to follow and watch there. It makes a tremendous effort on the confidence in our ability to create even more valuable content. So I'll make you a promise. If you hit that subscribe button, I promise we'll keep showing up every week. Even better, we'll keep recording episodes even into the future enthusiastically to help you in your business. So thank you for that. Thank you, Ben. And thank you to the utility tech who made that suggestion to Ben. Now, let's better your service. Let's create a three-dimensional experience. You ready for this, Joe?
I'm so pumped. Let's make it happen.
First and foremost, many people who listen to us or coming to find us or just starting in the trades or just starting in business first have this enterprise where they're doing too much. Do you remember those days, Joe?
Yeah, no, I remember doing way too much, changing panels out with a boom mic on my ear so that if the call came in, I could still wedge the panel against the wall and lower it and still take the call. So yeah, I remember that moment.
And there's a couple problems with that experience when we set it up that way.
Mm-hmm.
Number one is, have you ever gone to talk about something, maybe even to list something, and by the time you got to the third thing, you forgot what that thing was? Errors and
Yep.
omissions, these things happen. We're human, right?
Mm-hmm. I remember that.
Well, I'm a firm believer that every time I answer a call or allow a distraction to come between me and the current task for the current customer, or even the current conversation with this current customer, that there's a couple of really prone error points here. And it's either by that omission, I could just forget something,
Mm-hmm.
right? How about the sub panel bond screw, for example?
Mm-hmm.
Did I take it out? Did I forget? Maybe on further examination, I got distracted in that moment, went and did something else, and I've forgotten it. And now I've got an inspection problem when the inspector comes by and goes, mm-mm-mm.
And even worse is that you knew you did everything great. You're a phenomenal electrician. Your lines are like parallel and perfect. And now what does the homeowner think of your workmanship? Because the simplest of things didn't pass inspection. So what do they think about the more complicated things now?
Absolutely. Now, worse than that is, of course, if you're in communication with your current client, I really want you guys to put the blinders on and really focus like nothing else is important in this moment. Joe, I don't know how your phone's set up, but mine's set up so like basically Mariel or my girls,
Mm-hmm.
you actually are the only people that could actually get through and ring me
Mm-hmm.
even during a meeting. But outside of an emergency, I'm on do not disturb, DND, guys. You
Mm-hmm.
cannot reach me. I'm focused on the task, the priority in front of me, and that's this customer and their experience of us.
Yeah,
Are you
I
the
agree
same
with
way?
you completely. Exactly the same. In fact, I literally have it automatically set so that within certain hours, it automatically shifts over. And additionally, it saves me from myself. And I'm sure you've experienced this too, where something comes up, a notification comes up and is business related. You say, you know what? I'm going to just click on this, make sure it's done. And it becomes a rabbit hole. And now I'm finding that I'm not with my kids, or I'm not with my wife, or I'm not with my client. And as a result, if I completely remove the distractions, my desire to want to serve and solve problems is curbed. So I have to focus on the task at hand, which naturally leads to better problem solving as a whole because there's no problem to solve because you didn't cause one.
And bro, I'm so happy you started with the mention of kids and wife,
Mm-hmm.
because there's this expression that how we do one thing is how we do everything. You familiar with
Mm-hmm.
that one?
Oh, yeah.
Right. And so I believe in this with service too. If we're acting in and through distractions, then are we really doing anything wholly? And
Mm-hmm.
isn't this the Achilles heel of entrepreneurs everywhere? If we could just have that 100% focus with the level of energy that you guys bring to any one task on the list, I know we could do it exceptionally. I know we could create an experience to be longed for by customers everywhere. And if we did that, if we were truly able to create that environment, what would happen then? Would they repeat? Would they leave a review? Would they refer to other people? And what would happen to your business if every customer did that? Now, you might be thinking to yourself, well, that's unrealistic, Clay. Well, we got to aim for something, right? Shoot for the
Mm-hmm.
moon. At least you'll land amongst the stars.
Mm-hmm.
I may not get 100% reviews, but I sure as hell want to aim for it. Go ahead.
Yeah, there's actually another factor that we may not be speaking to that's another benefit that may be seen as a concern or complaint. Because it literally just happened this the other day where I had worked with a company and I loved their service. I trusted them. I felt they were really good. I'm happy with them. Their marketing's great. Love them. But I had a technician that didn't fully live to my standards. Now, my standards may be high, but didn't live to my standards. I could have said nothing. But instead, I contacted the manager and said, I love you guys. And because I love you guys, I want to see you win. And in order to see you win, your team needs to be the best. And here's how I can see improving your technician. Nope. Some of us might be like, I don't want to take that call. I don't want to hear my guys are bad. But instead, that's an amazing situation because now they can improve on something and they have better experience across all their teams now. If they're willing to take the advice and run with it, that's something else that could come from a great relationship. Proper feedback.
Swift feedback, man. I love that. I love that. And so while exploring this, I want to keep going deeper. We know for a fact, you guys have heard this on the podcast. We've seen so many people grow from this one change that for that focus reason, because you're not the expert in answering the phones, because you're not the expert in email or text communication, because you're the expert in electrical, you're the subject matter expert, the reason people called, shouldn't we start by focusing there and helping people where we can have the greatest impact?
Naturally, touch the lives that you can.
And naturally, I want to actually display a common occurrence that is
Mhm.
hugely missed when we don't have someone to answer the calls for us. Could I actually provide an example of this?
By all means, I'd love to hear it.
We were on a CSR training on Monday, actually. Joe, usually this is a class that you teach, but you were away.
Mhm.
And our great client, Nate, and their great CSR, Cassandra, was there.
Mhm.
And immediately I could tell how much Cassandra was fond of and believed in their level of service. And she started setting Nate up like a 10 in class. She didn't even mean to. I just got that she was bought in. You know what I mean? She
Yeah, you could.
trusted these visionaries. She wanted this.
Yeah, you can hear it in the voice. You can see it in the facial expressions. When someone believes, you almost become more animated. Your hands start moving. You're like, I am so excited about this. It's not a pitch. It's your truth.
And now we're entering this three-dimensional experience and how important this is. Let me share with you the example of what this looks like from a two-dimensional perspective. You ring and I say, "Hey, welcome to Service Loop Electrical. I can't wait for you to meet me. My name's Clay Newmeyer. I am the best master electrician in the area. I'm so good at this. I know you're going to have a great experience. How does Wednesday at 9, between 9 and 11 a.m. work for you?" Oh, great. Yeah, you'll see me. I'm the great looking guy with the nice van, all stickered. You see where this is going? You can't say that about yourself.
Even if it's the reality, even if it's 100% true, it just comes across as arrogant.
And with intent, right? We had to
Mhm.
demonstrate this because I can promise you at Arise, where Nate is, Cassandra is setting him up that way. And it comes off authentic, not arrogant. So, what's the
Mhm.
difference? We begin to have this three-dimensional experience that we're talking about. And it's not just on that call. Because, Joe, now if I asked you just intuitively,
Mhm.
from that standpoint, I just got off the phone with the CSR. I'm the homeowner. I just got off the phone.
Mhm.
My experience of the company so far is what I saw online.
Mhm.
It's the reviews, maybe some name mentions, and the only conversation I've had is with that CSR. So who's my number one relationship in house?
It's with Cassandra, the person who's a CSR.
Absolutely. The 3D experience is beginning, but it's just setting up that third dimension.
Mhm.
Now, when Nate shows up, he best deliver as a 10 out of 10, which
Mhm.
is expected following a consistent process. But the question becomes, should Cassandra have another touch point with this client following Nate's visit?
I mean, there's nothing wrong with it. It's almost like the warm handoff because they started the relationship. If it's almost like the salesperson who sells it and builds a relationship and they never see him again, just disappeared, gone until it's time to sell something else. The fact that Cassandra would come back and circle through to ensure they're so happy, us leading to the happy call, the relationship has a nice blue bow on the end of it. It's nice. It's wrapped up. It's pretty.
100%. And if she sets up that 10 out of 10, and then they do experience the 10 out of 10 with Nate, meaning he was there, asked them um, key strategic questions to accomplish essentially discovery about their experience. Not experience with the company necessarily even yet, experience with their electrical system and other companies that he can then build value off of, just as our process outlines, right?
Mhm.
This is incredibly important. And it's something that we talk about in house with our sales team. The sale is won in the discovery. Why do you think that is, Joe? Why is discovery so important? I mean, you teach this in
Yeah.
options so well.
Yeah.
Why, why?
So there's two things on top of that. The first is if I can show them that I'm someone that they want to connect with, someone that they can trust and as an authentic level, then they're bought me. And as a result, the relationship is the thing that carries it forward. If there is no relationship, the only way the sale progresses is if they truly need the thing. It has to happen. I'm the only one they can use, and it's time sensitive. And I don't want that to be the case. I want them to feel happy working with me and be like, Joe, I'm glad you showed me these choices. The second thing, though, is when you mentioned tying it into options class. The discovery is essential because a lot of times people will say you can't make options for something because it's so small, but that's because they're focused on the technical. If you instead focus on the relationship and understanding how they use the electrical system, now what you've discovered is why they need it so badly. And then you can tie your solutions to meet not only their current need, but their emotional needs that are tied to the physical.
Massive, massive, massive. And I actually want to seek permission right now to go to the expert level with this.
Go for it, man. What's up?
Ultra advanced.
Mm-hmm.
But first, I've got a cliffhanger for you guys. We're going to pause and go into win of the week. Do you have Dorian's win up, or do you want me to go into it?
I have it off memory, but we can make it rock and roll.
Sweet. Go off memory. I'll fill any gaps that you may
All
not
right,
have
sweet.
on memory. Go ahead.
So Dorian has a technician who had already sold the job and was installing it. And then while on the job, I believe it was $16,000 sale he had made while on the job. It was a substantial sale he made while already doing the job. It was something where I'm doing it. Hey, I sold another job while I'm here. Then continued on and sold another job to this client. And then after that, sold another job to the client, meaning this one client produced $52,000 for them. And the cool thing about that isn't the amount. I mean, granted, don't get me wrong. If every client you had gave you $52,000 in a short period of time, it's wonderful. But that wasn't the thing. It's the fact that his technician did the thing. And it shows that because it was done on the install, it has an even deeper level to it because people buy the relationship too. And sometimes they start with a small project to test your trustworthiness and your competency. And once you've met that expectation, they level it up more and more and more. Meaning that this client wanted or had a need or had a desire for these larger problems to be solved. And through the continued development of the relationship with the technician and the company, it became a no brainer to just say, why don't we just invest in the whole thing with you? You'll do the whole project. Let's just go through you guys.
I can't actually think of a more fitting win, a recent win for this topic, this 3D experience.
Mm-hmm.
So the exact facts were this. Dorian actually made the first sale for 28.
Okay.
Installer upgrade process, as you mentioned, for another 8 the next week later. Then another installer upgrade of another 16K in addition.
That's what it
That's
was.
what's adding up to the 52. And that's so important, again, to recognize this started with a call to a CSR too. And we know Juliet did a magnificent job, as she always does. We know that she set their tech up as a 10, Dorian. We know that he went out there and truly served that customer. They put this so forward, right? Great people. And then we know that their installer actually has an upgrade process to discuss those options again and continue to communicate with the customer. And as you said so eloquently, just building layers of trust.
Mm-hmm.
If you ask major brands like AT&T, they actually try to get multiple relationships through multiple products with you because it's the ultimate sticky place to be as far as client retention and tenure.
Mm-hmm.
Lifetime value up. Here's the crazy thing, Joe. I bet you 52K. That's just a piece of the bigger picture that's still yet to come in the next 12 months. As I
Mm-hmm.
imagine they're now a club member. I imagine there's a happy call to follow up to make sure that the 5-star review came in and to get all the eensy weensy details in the background. If this were my company, I'd even be exploring having an additional meeting to honor them and just
Mm-hmm.
appreciate them, in addition to as one of our best customers at this point, to just truly understand our experience, going in fully to fall on the sword and just get their point of view.
It'd be a very valuable insight. Regardless, it's not even the amount. I would say even if you change it to $1,000 sale each time, it's the fact that the client continued to trust the person to such an extent that they were like, I want to keep investing in you. I agree with what you're trying to do. I agree with your reasons for why I need it. There's no reason to say no. Let's proceed.
Huge
So
win of
the
the week.
amount is great, but the service that reflected the reason why they bought is like, I really need to make sure the highlight is there.
That's the real win.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Let's go expert level. We're talking about why the experience is so important. The discovery is so important.
Mhm.
Rapport is built on relation. Here's another way to say, I've never said it like this before, but rapport, meaning really relationship. There's trust. Relationship, in fact, let's say it this way, there's no relationship without relation. Boom.
Mhm.
Put it on a bumper sticker, guys. Put that on your post-it note on your mirror. There is no relationship without relation. And guess what? There's no sale without relationship. There's no transaction without that foundational trust and building that up. The problem is, and we just talk about this with our own sales team, we can't invalidate that relationship with a gap that then proves it was just for the transaction.
100%.
You have this ultimate edge in your business. Every time someone builds a relationship, I ask you guys, I beg you guys to go the extra step to touch base with your clients again, that person specifically. A selling tech should never sell and not talk to them again. An installer should never install and not talk to them again. A CSR should never set up the sale or the install and then not talk to them again. Same goes for a service manager. Once you're involved, you're inextricably linked to the experience this customer has. And without your continued relation, that relationship starts to crumble. Does that make sense, Joe?
It really does. It's almost like you don't want there to even be rust in your armor, because at the same time, eventually that rust will create a hole, and that hole creates a weakness. So instead, I'm constantly making sure I've maintained it, not only in image, but in integrity. And I make sure that the customer knows that I'm here because I want to be here, not because I want their money.
Here's the secret. You can automate these touch points after. You can
Mhm.
automate a lot of this. Now, nothing beats just reaching out, good old fashioned. I've got that extra rapport detail and
Mhm.
touching base on that. Here's an expert level advanced again. If when you're relating to someone, they say, well, I heard a crackle and then I smelt smoke. We've talked about this a few times before. Seeing is believing. What that really means is what we experience in our sensory becomes our truth. And if you share that truth, if you relate to their truth, their sensory of an experience, you'll have advanced rapport. And so as a result, you're better off to say, I understand what that sounds like because I've had this happen before to me as well. And that smell, man, you never forget that once you smell a burned outlet, do you?
No, never. That fish smell stays with you.
So here's the thing, guys, by labeling those senses, by paying attention to that, and then referencing those in your mirror, you're going to have advanced rapport, the kind of rapport and the kind of experience you won't want to let go of. So please, please, please take some notes on this. Whoever's first in contact, that should not be their last point of contact. If you have that advanced rapport, you really sense that, you need to come back and follow up with them, even if it's actually not inspired, but even if it's initiated by automation and then carefully taken beyond that manually. This is really, really important. As Joe said, happy calls factor into this perfect. Make sure the CSR comes back around, has another opportunity to serve. And if you do these things in the name of service, then you will have an exceptional three-dimensional experience with a multitude of relationships set up with this point of contact and even more stickiness, even more anchors, so that this person won't want to shop around and find someone else to serve them at a lower level. Joe, did I miss anything in that? Are you inspired to say anything else on top of this one?
Honestly, at the end of the day, I cannot stress how important the service is, because it's not just about the sale like some people seem to chase it is. The relationship you have is your parachute, your airbag, your seatbelt. It's everything, because when things get slow and people are like, I don't know, maybe they're going to go with someone cheaper, or I don't know, maybe they're not going to want to get things done. But up to this point, you've nurtured the relationship, you've made the happy calls, you've continued to check in with them. Now, when things get tight and everyone's looking to have leads, you already have clients. Where they're looking for customers, you have clients. And I think that's a big differentiation.
Massive, massive. Guys, if you enjoyed this podcast or like that utility tech unnamed who referred us to Ben, Ben's now here, about to be seeing some big wins. If you know someone who needs to hear this exact episode, or if you're struggling to get these many hats off and learn how to find that CSR, find someone to buy into your vision and set you up as a 10 and to perfectly nest your customers and care for them like little baby chicks until they're plump chickens, please share this. Leave us a review and leave us any feedback that you can on servicesoupelectrical.com, on our YouTube channel, on your Apple podcast or Spotify or wherever you heard this first. We'd love to hear from you. Also in the Facebook group at $1 Million Electrician. We're looking forward to supporting you guys again next week. And we've got some great episodes coming up. So stay tuned, subscribe, and we'll talk to you guys very soon.
Be blessed, my friends. Look forward to seeing you soon.
And that's a wrap for today's episode of the $1 Million Electrician podcast.
We hope you're buzzing with new ideas that charged up to take your business to the next level.
So don't forget to subscribe, leave a review, and share the show with fellow electricians. Together, we'll keep the current flowing.